Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to, well, it's afternoon for me, um, today's stream where we're going to be learning JavaScript, and my dog is going to be learning patience. I don't know if you can hear him, but he's going like, he can't get attention because I'm working. So, we're going to pick up with what we started last Thursday, and that is learning JavaScript. And we have a big old learning plan, and specifically the thing that I want to be able to do, hopefully at the end of the week, this week, we'll see. I expect that things will take a different amount of time than I actually intend for them to take, particularly this early in my learning journey here, is I would like to build a web page, whether or not it's hosted anywhere, we'll see, where a user, have an R on it, can enter some text and have it anonymized. So basically I just want to redact proper names and, transform pronouns so that they are not identifiable directly in the browser client side. That's my plan. Today we are going to start off with some specific learning goals for the day. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get my developer environment set up. I've tried not to do too much off stream so that it's not like, here's one I made earlier and it all works perfectly and we can do that together. And I would love to get the JavaScript version of Hello World running. I don't know what that looks like. My guess is that that's plain text. Question mark? Would be my guess, but maybe there's another canonical first project that people usually do. So that's definitely something I want to check out. And then finally, if we have a little bit of extra time at the end, I want to learn about different frameworks. I've heard a lot about like Node and React and different things, so I'd like to learn more about them. Besides, like, that's a word I've heard before. So that's our plan for the day. Feel free if you've got questions or suggestions to jump in. Like, I'm by no means a JavaScript expert, and we'll talk about it together. All right, so what I did find out was that there's some VS Code extensions that might be helpful. Let me see if I can pull this up. So VS Code is the, oh, you can't see it because it's right above here, but I am using VS Code, and there is apparently an extension that lets you have a little preview right in your IDE environment, and I would love to get that installed so that I can see what I'm doing. Also, I'm going to make, I'm sure I'm going to make a lot of mistakes, and I'd love to have like a very fast feedback cycle on that. So, VS Code, JavaScript, browser in IDE, I guess. All right, JavaScript programming with Visual Studio Code, and this is from the docs. That looks great. Let's pop that over. I do like Firefox, but it is way harder to separate a tab than it is on Chrome. Get up there. All right. Scroll in so it actually looks good. So a lot of stuff is also going to be actually just already built in, and I shouldn't have to do a lot to make it work. So if I just create a new .js file, it will automatically recognize that is so small and I cannot zoom into it, sorry. It should automatically recognize it as JavaScript, right? Also, I'm just sort of looking at the organization here, and so there's api.js, app.css, app.js, app.test.js, config.js, etc. So I'm guessing the very minimal thing you should do is like app.js, or maybe it's usually the name of your app. I don't know. Also, for some reason, my Stream Deck is not working great, so I'm gonna have to click over. Cool. I'm gonna create a new file and call it app.js, and this should be, yep, there we go. It's JavaScript. Fabulous. So that bit was nice and easy. Let's see what else we need to do to get up and working. Most of these features work right out of the box. Fabulous. Love things I don't have to mess with. Code completion, projects, a JS config.json file defines a JavaScript project in VS Code. Well, these files are not required. You will want to create one in cases such as fancier things than I'm doing, I think. I might change my mind on that and come back and change it. But I don't think I need to do this right now. I have to. All right. Snippets. Okay, so it's going to have auto suggestions as we type. And as I remember, nope, that's not one. From last week, console.log is like the print version. So it looks like it's got pretty robust autocomplete, which is great. Understand Jsdoc Annotations and uses these annotations to provide rich IntelliSense. Okay, so for comments, it looks like it's that way slash, I guess, that way from y'all's perspective, that way slash, and then star to begin a multi-line comment, I'm guessing, and then star same direction to end it. Okay. Quickly create doc commands for functions by typing before the function declaration and select the Jsdoc comment and snippet suggestion. Cool. Okay, so I think this is for producing like a doc string above a function you've written. Good to know. Hover information, great. Signature help tells you about the function signature. Don't know what that is. I think there's a lot of features where, like, if you already know JavaScript, you're probably pretty excited to buy. Automatic imports, cool. Formatting, okay. Auto closes tags, that's nice. And then code navigation, rename a symbol under, rename, sorry, I read this as readme and then was trying to figure out why they were readme and then was trying to figure out why they're talking about renaming under readme. That's just me not being able to read good. Okay, so this is all stuff that I don't think is going to be super relevant for us right away. This seems like more and then linters, cool. And they've got a bunch of built-in linters, type checking, Typescript. Typescript has come up a couple times here. What is Typescript? Is that the typed flavor of JavaScript? Let's find out. What is Typescript? And I'll add this to my learning document. I don't know that this is a framework, but I'm putting this under here so I can find out a little bit more about it. Strongly typed or object-oriented compiled language. It is a strict syntactical superset of JavaScript and adds optional static typing to the language. Okay, so it's and it's developed by Microsoft. Okay. Strictly typed lang, that's a superset of JavaScript. Some of those letters were right, from MS. Okay, cool. Okay, so JavaScript, so TypeScript is like additional stuff on top of JavaScript that does static typing. Cool. I remember static typing from learning Java many, many years ago. So this is me. I'm trying to do arithmetic. That's what that face is. 2009 would have been many years ago. 12 years ago was the last time that I touched Java, so that's where I am. Afton says, it's strongly typed JavaScript. Sounds neat. Yeah. I definitely see where strong typing could be useful. I will say it's like, it's fine. I don't mind duck typing. That's where I am on it. But also, I think as someone who works mainly in the data science and machine learning space, like, there are instances where the data type that a piece of information is stored in is pretty much irrelevant. And as a result, I sometimes just tend to ignore it, because the thing that's going to be particular to the actual type of information it is going to be more like in the model selection, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. All right, we've learned one thing already, and that's what TypeScript is. And I've lost my window I was using. Well, all right, let's make another one. What I was looking for was JavaScript browser preview VS Code. See, this is why I should never do anything off stream, because I vaguely remember it and then I forget all about it. Oh, browser preview. All right, here we go. Please pop out and be a new window. Thank you. Jiminy Cricket. All right. A real browser preview inside your editor so you can debug. That sounds good. It's got a lot of installs and like not very many stars. So that's maybe a thing. But yeah, so this is what it looks like. It's a little browser right inside your right inside VS Code, which I think would be helpful, powered by headless Chromium. So Chromium is the open source version of Chrome. It could be either Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge. Enables a secure way to render web content inside VS Code, and enables interesting features such as in-editor debugging and more. Yeah, okay, so that sounds like what I'm looking for. Go to your settings, search for browser preview. Set desired URL. Okay. So it looks like it's got some additional stuff to make it work, but I think this is going to be such a time saver for me that I think it's worthwhile to spend a little bit of additional time getting it set up. And I'm just going to look at the reviews really quick. You know, I'm going to do that in another window. I don't trust reviews on the internet. Some people who've been having trouble saying it doesn't work. Some people saying it works fine. Some people saying it has high CPU usage on Mac. Some people saying it's slow. Okay. I think I'm okay with that. Yeah, okay, and I don't know what's gonna happen when I click install. So I'm just gonna quickly hop over to a secret stuff just to make sure nothing exciting happens. I'll be right back. Nothing's happened. So I've installed it. I've followed the prompts and ain't nothing happened yet, and I don't know that it actually downloaded. So maybe this is something I need to do from within VS Code potentially. Let's see. Maybe it's browser preview, maybe? Okay, markdown preview, open in browser, open in default browser, open browser preview. Yeah, okay, and this is okay, this is the same one. Okay, so let's try installing this here. And again, I don't know what's gonna happen, so I'll be right back. It's all good. I'm just like, you know, I don't know what's gonna happen when I click a button. All right, so it is installed, it is enabled. and there were like a whole bunch more usage instructions. So let's head back to the page and see what they had to say about it. There we go. Okay. Grab the extension from the marketplace. Create a new browser preview button on the sidebar to the left, or run the command browser open preview. Sidebar to the left. So there should be a new button here. Browser preview. Okay, fabulous. I'm nervous again. One sec. It's cool. Okay, so there is a browser preview for Visual Studio Code. It is, I would say, a little bit blurry, but also I am zoomed way the heck in. So I would say this is working. Does as intended. I don't want it right now. Can I just scooch you on out? No? All right. Can I close you this? Do I gotta use the button again? Okay, how do I make it go away though? Okay. I think I might just be zoomed too far in. Oop. Okay. And let me save that. Yes, please. All right, and the browser preview. Okay, got it. So it's just another, got it. So it is just another, whatchamacallit. It's just another like tab that opens. Okay, fabulous. So I think that'll be helpful once we actually have something in our app.js, but right now we got nothing. So I would say that get the dev environment set up is done. 10 out of 10. And now hello world. So how do I print some text and then have it work good? And there were additional steps to follow here. So I'm just going to add a link in here so that I have this using browser preview. What is this? Is this an extension? I think it's an extension. Extension. Add a link to that so I can go back to it when I inevitably need help. And this will all render in the repo as rendered markdown. So, okay, so far so good. I can close that. I think we're good to go for now. So the next thing that I need to do is figure out how to do just like the plain JavaScript hello world. What's the very basic thing look like, and can I make it show up good? All right. Most basic JavaScript app. JavaScript basics, JavaScript examples from W3 schools. All right. So let's take a look at this. All right. What can JavaScript do? JavaScript can change HTML content. JavaScript can change CSS style, can hide HTML elements, can show hidden HTML elements, and can change HTML elements. Where to insert JavaScript: head, body, external file, external URL, external folder. JavaScript output, writing it to the HTML output. All right, that sounds like maybe the second thing we should do, and the first thing we should do is find out about the syntax. So I guess we'll just start with statements. Sounds like a good thing to start with. All right. Okay, so this is within an HTML doc. And okay, so this bit in here that is a script is being Gotcha, is being run. Okay, I see. So actually, I do think I want to go back up to here. How does that work? Never call a document, write document.write after the document has finished loading. It will overwrite the whole document. Document.write. Okay. So it's got to be embedded in HTML. Gotcha. Okay. So it's not exactly like CSS, but it's like a little bit like CSS. Okay, so what I should do instead of having just a JavaScript file is I should have a HTML file. So let's do that. New file. What do I want to call it? Hello world.html. Great. So here, the absolute basic thing that I should be able to do is just like, put in just like some paragraphs. I should probably do like within HTML and body. It's been a while since I just wrote straight up HTML. Nope, just the regular one, thank you. Step 1, it would help if I had my brackets going in the right direction, not the wrong direction. And by brackets, I mean slashes. Okay. All right, and then, and the body. Thanks. The autocomplete is so aggressive that I had a hard time knowing that it was going to happen. All right, and then let's just do like a quick paragraph. How's my typing? It works. All right, so hello world. All right, and then if I look at this with my browser preview, I should see just like very basic hello world black text on a white background. And do I remember how to look at the browser preview? I surely do not, which is why I gave myself the link to make sure that I could go back and look at it when I inevitably forgot, because that is something that I do. No, I think everybody forgets stuff. It's just that I have learned that if I write it down somewhere first, I have the ability to go back and get it. All right. Pull this back over. You can enable the in-editor debugging a browser preview by installing debugger for Chrome. I don't care about that too much. All right. How do I change the default URL start page? I'll preset the type rendering. Okay, debuggable. Cool. Oh, does it need to be on an endpoint? I think it do. Okay. So I'm just looking down here at the little preview of what it's saying is going on. So it was compiled, and then it's being hosted on a local network, and then the browser is being pointed towards that network. Okay, so how do I compile an HTML page? I don't think HTML is compiled. Maybe it is. HTML programming with Visual Studio Code. Yes, I would like assistance with this. All right, it's doing so much stuff. It's close tags. The matching closing tag is inserted when the slash is entered. Okay, oh, that's what was happening to me when typing was happening very automatically. Auto-updating tags, color picker, blah, 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 blah. How do I... Extensions, snippets, hint. Does VS Code have HTML preview? No, VS Code does not have built-in support for HTML preview, but there are extensions available in the VS Code marketplace. Okay, search live preview or HTML preview to see a list of available HTML previews. Let me do that over here. Right. This must be a hard thing to do. And the reason that I say that is that a lot of these things do not have very many stars. So this one is for just markdown, which is not what I'm looking for. I'm really looking for preview. So it's not something that the developers of VS Code do themselves. They do let other people do it, but when other people do it, people tend to be upset. It looks to be the pattern here, and it just seems, that just seems hard. So this one is the most stars. Let's take a look at that. Extension to preview HTML files while editing them in VS Code. I forgot how to read there. The extension can be activated 2 ways: toggle preview or open preview to the side. All right, so let's add that one. What is this? HTML preview. And I know I could do a lot of this in Chrome, but I would prefer to not have to keep toggling back and forth just because it makes my life a little bit more difficult. And that's the main reason. So, because this preview isn't a preview for code in your editor. It's a way to visit a web page in your editor using headless Chromium. So for me to be able to use the browser preview, I have to be able to access my code via some sort of live version in a browser, even if it is something on localhost. Also, I'm on Windows, so anything on localhost is going to be slow. What was I looking at? I wanted extensions. There we go. So HTML preview, and the one we're looking for is the one by George Allison, I think. This one. Oliviera. Yeah. I got Allison from here, but I think that is not actually the name of this person. All right, let's install this. Okay, and then we should be able to preview the HTML, and then we should be able to do JavaScript inside the HTML preview. So I'll be able to do simple, whatevers. All right, cool. And did you... How do I get into this again? Extension can be activated in 2 ways: toggle preview, Control-Shift-V, or Command-Shift, I'm guessing that's a V, open preview to the side, Control-K-V, or Command-K-V. All right. Okay, I don't know if you can see that there. It says the key combination Control-K, Control-V is not a command, so Control-K-V is not a command. Do I have to hit a space? Okay, Control-Shift-V, let's try that. Cool. Nothing has happened. Well, maybe I have to do it from within here. Is it like a... oh wait, okay, here, open in browser preview. Oh, this might have been from the first one we installed. And I can't make it any bigger. Can I make you smaller, I guess? I guess I'll just close all of these. Save my changes, please. So, see if I can zoom out, if that helps at all. Sure don't. Okay. Okay, so this is definitely of Hello World HTML is what we are previewing here, which is valid HTML. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty sure. Open preview to the side. Okay, that worked. Gotcha. Okay. So this is what I was expecting. I don't know what's going on with the browser. Something unhelpful, I think. And so to get to this view, I hovered over the meatballs and then selected this because for some reason this multiple command thing didn't work. So if I change this here, that works. All right, let me get this smaller. It's Control B, I think. Yeah, there we go. All right, and then I can move myself to the other side. Hey, okay, we are off to the races. So I'm gonna adjust that slightly because you don't need quite so much space there, I don't think. So I think we're good to go now. Is this just a tab? Yeah, okay, that's just one tab. All right, so now if I want to add some JavaScript, I should be able to do that by just putting it in the body of a script tag, and then I can do JavaScript things in there. Yes. And it should bring it on the same level, so. Cool. Okay, and so now in here I should be able to do JavaScript. Some content has been disabled in this document. Cool. Hopefully I'll be able to see anything at all. All right, and then we have just an example here. Okay, so declaring variables does take me back. So declaring the 3 variables, let me zoom in so you can see this a little bit better as well. All right, so list of statements executed by the computer. So you declare all of your variables, and presumably in TypeScript you would also, if you were using TypeScript, you would also declare the types in here, but JavaScript is not typed, not strongly typed. Is JavaScript typed? It's dynamically typed. Okay, so we don't really have to mess with it. And then assignment, the way you'd expect, and then arithmetic, the way you'd expect. I don't know, the way I'd expect. And then document get element ID demo inner HTML. The value of z is plus z plus. Okay, get element by ID. So this is being run after this, right? But the output here, okay, so this is being set, and then the value of this, ID demo, demo, that's being printed as a document? What is a document in JavaScript? Right. Document object model. I'm getting a lot of results about that. What is JavaScript document object model? Sure, let's find out about it. So this is from the same place we were. Pop it in over here. Here we go. The document object represents your web page. if you want to access any element in an HTML page, you must always start with accessing the document object. Okay, so here, this just means, hey, look at the current page that I'm on. And then get element by ID, this one, so it gets this paragraph, which is here blank, using its name, which is demo, or its ID, and then inner HTML. Don't know what that means. Inner HTML equals new HTML content. Change the inner HTML of an element. Oh, I see. Okay, so here, what this is doing is this is setting the content here to be this. Okay, that makes sense to me. Attribute equals new value, change the attribute value of an HTML element. Style property, change the style of an HTML element. Set attribute, adding and deleting elements. Okay, so this would be creating a new element, adding an element inside an HTML element, because I'm assuming this is using the same sort of parent-child description as you would get with any other sort of like tree-based model, because this is a tree. And then write the into the HTML output stream document.write text. Cool. Okay, so with that, I think I understand what's going on here in this text. And if I just like wholesale copy and paste this, I don't think it'll work. Let's find out. Some content has been disabled. Yeah, I'm gonna allow and secure local content. And can I reload this? Refresh preview? Refresh preview? Change the security settings? Allow all content and script execution. Okay, so this will execute the script that I have written. And if it was not me what had written the script and I didn't understand what was going on with it, this could be fairly dangerous, but I'm going to say we could do it. Okay, fabulous. That makes sense. And if I put some text here, it will never show up because this text is being overwritten by this. And if instead of doing that, let's say I added a child, right? I created a new element. Create element, okay. And then I'm gonna call it demo1, so it has another, name, and I'm not reusing the same variable name. And then I guess, right? Actually, I'm gonna try this instead. What if instead I just do document.write? Will it just write the output outside of a node? Okay, that didn't work. Write into the HTML output stream. Wait. I think that, yeah, okay, yes. I think this needs straight up text. Yes, got it, okay. It's all making sense. It's all coming together. Okay, so what was happening was we were replacing the current content of an element with something else. So we were replacing this demo here, down here. So that's why when I added this text, it wasn't showing. When we stopped overwriting it, then this text was never overwritten. So we instead saw what I had originally put there. And then in order to write out text straight from the JavaScript component, we just did document write, and the reason that it wasn't showing up at first was that I was trying to assign it a value, and instead I should have passed it a string. So now that I've passed it a string, it's just been written at the place where my demo text was, and I bet if I put another paragraph body underneath it, yeah, it'll show up in order. Okay. All right, this is all making sense. It's all coming together. I think I get what's going on here to begin with. So I would say so far I'm pretty pleased. I think I understand, right, the basic thing that we were interested in, which is how do I get, where do I put the JavaScript to make it show up? And the answer is inside an HTML document. And I imagine in a more complex project, you would have your JavaScript in various folders and you would, make calls to other files. But for now, I think I'm just going to stick with one just to make my life easier. Okay. I think I understand what's happening. Oh, 1 sec. God being a spammer. Peace out. Okay, I think I understand what's happening. It's coming together. So, with that in mind, I think I can delete this. Boot your cycle again. Goodbye. And then I want to open my learning plan, and you can actually leave for now. Okay. So that worked. The browser preview did not work great. So I'm actually just going to remove this because I don't imagine that we're going to use it for the next little bit because all we need is that HTML preview. I know that you can do very fancy looking things in JavaScript. I don't care. No, that's not fair. I do care. I understand that it's a lot of work. I've got a lot of respect for people who do that. But what I care about is just string manipulation, like when it comes down to it. So for me, I'm just going to stick with basic HTML, and I think that's all I need. Yep. JavaScript is run from within an HTML page. You can show the output by writing it to document or over cool. Sorry. I'm trying to fix something. There we go. Okay, so we can writing it to document or overwriting an existing HTML element. Document is the head node for an HTML page. All, what would you even call that? Attributes, question mark? I don't know that attributes is the right verb of it, but I think now I understand. So pulling together what we've learned so far. So JavaScript interacts with the HTML object it's interacting with in a tree-like manner. Document is always going to be the head node, so you're always going to have to do something with document unless you're doing something that doesn't affect the HTML page. Right now, again, we're just doing string manipulation. I imagine everything we do is going to affect the HTML page. So I think I am clear on that. And then the other things that I had questions about, we learned about TypeScript, were Node and React. So I'm going to look into those real quick. And I think it's helpful when you're learning a new framework, like whenever you come across words and you're just like, I don't know what that is, just look them up. Look them up and find out more. Like I think I mentioned in the planning stream last week, I worked with a lot of engineers who did a lot of front-end stuff, and they kept talking about NPM, and I thought it was just like a really weird way of talking about NumPy, and I was like, I didn't know NumPy did all that. It is in fact a specific JavaScript package management tool, and has nothing to do with NumPy. Coffee is so good. What's Node? Let's find out. what is Node.js? I also hear a lot of people talk about React, so I've asked about that as well. All right. Woo! We're on Wikipedia. Let's read together. An open source, cross-platform, back-end JavaScript runtime environment. Runtime system, implements portions of an execution model. This is not to be confused with the runtime lifecycle phase of a program during which the runtime system is in operation. That runs on a V8 engine. Open source JavaScript engine. A V8 is also like a type of engine what you find in cars. So you can understand why I just made a face. And executes JavaScript code outside a web browser. Okay, so usually, like what we're doing here, yeah, the browser will go through, it'll render this, it'll be like, oh, there's a script here, I should ignore what's happening in the script, first of all, for security reasons. But we're gonna assume that it's not ignoring them for security reasons. Oh, there's a script here, I should run the script, and then it'll run the script. And this is a way to do that without a web browser, I think. Lets the developer use JavaScript to write command line tools for server-side scripting, running scripts server-side to produce dynamic web page content before the page is sent to the user's web browser. Gotcha. So instead of the browser makes requests, it gets the HTML back. It's like, oh, better render all this stuff, better run all these scripts. Instead, it gets the output of those scripts having been run and then just displays that. So you don't put the sort of like processing capacity on the user end, you do it server side, and I imagine it makes requests faster. Consequently, Node.js represents a JavaScript everywhere paradigm, unifying web application development around a single programming language rather than different languages for server-side and client-side scripts. So the way that we're using JavaScript right here is client-side, which is what I want to do specifically for the privacy-preserving machine learning. So I think that Node.js is not going to be useful for this project. The name Node.js doesn't refer to a particular file in the context and is merely the name of the product. Node.js has an event-driven architecture capable of asynchronous I/O. These design choices aim to optimize throughput and scalability in web applications with many input-output operations, as well for real-time web applications, e.g. real-time communication programs and browser games. Feels a little bit like Flash. Or it feels like the fact that this is now a paradigm that you can do things in is a reason why people don't use Flash anymore. I mean, also Flash is dead, which is the big reason people don't use Flash anymore, I imagine. Yeah. Corporate users include blah, 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 a bunch of them. All right. It was originally written in 2009. Blah, 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 a bunch of stuff. Okay, gotcha. It has a lot of deprecated versions. I guess that's not super surprising. But like, in this amount of time, Python has had like one major version update. And it's got a lot of versions. I think I've heard about that. I think like I hear just sort of like general grousing about Node being hard to keep up with. All right. So what it does, to reiterate, is it is a way to run your JavaScript server side and then send the fully rendered pages to your client, is what I am understanding. Let's update our learning plan. I think a way to run your scripts all server side improves cross platform. What would you call that? Something that works cross platform? I don't want to say interoperability because I don't think that's actually what it's doing. Lets you have the same stuff. Listen, cross-platform. I don't think it will be very useful for this project because I want it to work all client side. So I think the way that you would do this project, and again, to refresh your memory about the project, is I want a web page where you can enter text and have it anonymized, or like have obvious names redacted and pronouns changed for privacy reasons. And I think what you would have to do if you were working with Node is you would have to send a request with your text to the server, and then Node would transform that and send you back your rendered page that had the anonymized text in it, I think. There's probably a way to do that without, to use Node and not do that, but like I have no strong reason to use Node in the first place now that I know more about it, but I can see how it would be useful. Okay, so I don't think it's going to be useful for us. The other thing I hear a bunch of people talk about is React. Also, I know that yeah, the React community has lots of feelings. All right. It's JavaScript library. All right. That's the one. Oh, that's the symbol that was shown in the in-browser preview. It's from Facebook, okay. Is an open source front-end JavaScript library for building user interfaces or UI components. Oh, this might actually be useful for us. It is maintained by Facebook and a community of individual developers and companies. React can be used as a base in the development of a single page or mobile applications. However, it's not only concerned with state management and rendering that state to the DOM. Document object model. We just learned about this. Okay. Yeah. So like where everything is part of the document, because I'm pointing to the screen, y'all can't see that. I can't move my mouse, so this was up here. Yes, we were just talking about how like you need to modify the document to do anything. Yeah, that makes sense. State management and rendering that state. So creating React applications usually requires the use of additional libraries for routing, as well as certain client-side functionality. Okay, so it does some things. The following is a rudimentary example of React app using HTML and JSX. What's that? JavaScript XML is an extension to the JavaScript language syntax. Similar in appearance to HTML, JSX provides a way to structure component rendering using syntax familiar to many developers. React components are typically written using JSX, although they do not have to be. Components may also be written in pure JavaScript. JSX is similar to another extension syntax created by Facebook called PHP, called XHP, a sample. Okay. I forget what the X in XML stands for. But it's a specific markup language. In my head, it's extreme markup language, like from a 90s toy commercial, but I don't think that's what it is. I think it's something else. Sorry, we can actually look that up right now. Ooh, extensible. And my light has died, and we still have 6 minutes to go, so I should make sure my batteries are charged all the way next time. One of my lights is plugged in, and one of them is on batteries. So now we get the dramatic lighting. Anyway, it doesn't stand for extreme markup language, but in my head that's always how I read it. JavaScript HTML, JXML, or was it JML or JXML? JSX. JavaScript XML. Okay, JavaScript XML used for formatting JavaScript stuff in React. Can also use regular JavaScript. Okay. Also, you can tell we're in web dev world because ML doesn't mean machine learning anymore. It means markup language. Okay, so open source front-end JavaScript library for building user interfaces or UI components. Okay, so let's look at this example. Script function greeter props return h1 props.greeting. So it returns something as a header. Let app equal greeter greeting hello world. Okay, so greeter is this function, and this is a attribute. I don't know what props is or where it's coming from. I'm guessing that's a built-in of some sort. Let app equals greeting hello world. React DOM dot render app document get element by ID my React app. Okay, so this bit here is pretty much exactly the same thing that we looked at earlier, except instead of this being pointing directly to the document, it's pointing to the React document operator module. What does it stand for again? I have forgotten. Document object model. Okay, so we've got this document object model that's being built by React. So this is what we're doing instead of pointing it directly to the document. And then rendering, so it's just like show the dang thing. App, this. So this is getting that greeter here. And then that's being put in up here. Okay, and here's where we're talking about the document. Okay, so this bit is making it look fancier using React. This bit is replacing the content of this section, which right now is empty, with the rendered version of all of this. And then this is just the name here. Okay. The greeter function is a React component that accesses a property greeting. The variable app is an instance of the greeter component where the greeting property is set to hello world. Oh, this must be props, like multiple properties, I guess. So he says, I think greeting is passed in as a props to the greeter function. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know what props is. Props in JavaScript. Objects and props in JavaScript. No, you can use all right. React props are like function arguments in JavaScript and attributes in HTML. Let me pop over this. Okay, so props are a React thing. All right, let's create a new section here. I think this is 1, 2. Okay, excellent. Yeah. So props React version of function arguments and HTML attributes, which is like a lot of stuff to push into one thing, but I guess what it's doing is it's mapping, because this is a front-end library, so it's taking in the stuff you're doing it and rendering it, making it pretty. So it makes sense that it would need to treat the inputs from the code it's taking in and the outputs of what it's rendering to make look pretty through some sort of equivalence, I guess? To send props into a component, use the same syntax as HTML attributes. All right, add a brand attribute to the car element. Okay, so this is JavaScript. So this is creating a constant called myElement that is car. I guess that's just going to be printed as text. I don't know what that first one is. That one might be an object. So this is an element, and it has the attribute forward. The component receives the argument as a props object. Okay. So it extends this. Okay. So this here refers to the car. The car has a property here, and that's the brand is the type of the property. So props is any like argument or attribute, I guess. Props are how you pass data from one component to another as parameters. Lets you pass data between components. Karen says, if you think about components as function, props are really like arguments. Yeah, but it's just a React thing, right? Like it's not a JavaScript thing. You communicate values across components through props. Okay, that makes sense. That it's coming together. I don't, this might be a little bit of a sidebar though, because I'm not really planning on using React. Oh, I guess if I want my like stuff to look cool, I should probably use some sort of front-end library. Front-end library to make UIs and stuff like that. All right. And I'll after I'm done with the stream, I'll make sure to add this all to the GitHub repo. And my GitHub is that one. It's RC Tapman, same as my Twitter. Yeah, it's just Reacts. Okay, helpful. JSX and props are React things. Okay, so I think that makes sense. So this is a function that has an attribute, and then you're going to return that the attribute is greeting in a first level header. So an app is an instance. It is an instance. Okay, I was like, is instance the right word? It is an instance of the greeter component. I thought this was a function, but I guess it's a component. Karen says, it's messy the first time you get into it, but React is so good. It's worth it. I trust you, Karen. I trust you. We'll tell you right now, I am probably never going to be super into front-end stuff. I appreciate it. I think it's very important, but there's a lot of detail-oriented stuff, and like it matters that the colors are the same every time, and that like things are consistently on the right or the left, and that's the sort of stuff that I tend not to be very good at. Yeah, what's the difference between component versus function in JavaScript? Or is this another React thing? I think this might be a React thing. I'm on the Twilio blog. Understanding functional components versus class components in React. Okay, React has components. One uses a function and the other uses a class. Functional components are becoming more and more popular, so why is that? Feels like a little bit of can be either a function or class. We were talking a little bit last time about how I tend to like functional programming, and this sounds like a little bit of functional, a little bit of object-oriented, just sort of squished together. Components can be either functions or classes. That's why they call it components and not functions. Gotcha. And it's a React thing. Functional is better than classes because in the front end, performance is key. That makes sense. Yeah, you need really performance stuff, or else people are going to be sitting there waiting for it to load. Do y'all remember? You may not. I don't really know the ages of everybody, or how much access you had to the internet at various points in your life. But when I was younger, whenever you went to a web page that had an image, it would load from the top down, and like you'd just be sitting there waiting for the image to finish loading. Yeah, that's one of my key memories of being on the internet when I was in grade school. Okay. Okay, so that's all React stuff. So what I'm learning is that React has like a very different vocabulary than the rest of JavaScript. React seems to have a very distinct vocabulary. It doesn't share with base JavaScript. All right. Yeah. Okay, so that's helpful. Afton says same. Yeah, I remember that. It was, I don't know. I think a lot of it is like at the time, even when images like loaded very slowly, like the fact that I could like look at a picture of an elephant without having to go to the library and find a book on elephants was like very revolutionary. Yeah, it's a complete framework, 100% opinionated. Yeah, I think that is something that I am definitely picking up. Okay. And then there was the other thing I wanted to do was Node. And we already looked at that. And then the other things I wanted to look up were TypeScript, which we also did. And I wonder if there's something else in the like, I remember that often people talk about React and also they talk about something else. And I don't remember the other thing that tends to come up a lot. But I'm gonna check the C alsos. Angular, that's the other one that people talk about. TypeScript-based open source web application framework led by the Angular team at Google. This explains why I have the impression that there is beef between these projects. Okay, so Angular. I think there might be a little bit of beef between these projects. So it's another... Okay, and it incorporates Node. Gotcha. Open source web application framework. A software framework designed to support the development of web applications, including web services, web resources, and web APIs. Web frameworks provide a standard way to build and deploy web applications on the World Wide Web. Okay. So it's like a tool set. Wow, they've had a lot of versions as well. From 2016. Why do web frameworks get major versions so quickly? I'm gonna add that to like list of stuff I learned about. Apparently, web app frameworks are really happy to cut new major versions. I guess they're extremely popular, and also there are pretty big security things that come up fairly often. Yeah, it was Angular. Thanks, Afton. Sorry, there's a little bit of a delay between me and you. It is not that I'm ignoring you. Okay. Oh, and what was the license for React? It has to be something pretty permissive, huh? MIT. Okay, yes, they've got the same license. All right. Okay. Cool. It's based on TypeScript. It's got dynamic loading, a mechanism by which a computer program can, at runtime, load a library into memory, retrieve and address the functions and variables contained in the library, execute those functions or access those variables, and unload the library from memory. Okay. Cool. I am at the point where I am starting to get a little bit overwhelmed. I'm not overwhelmed. Just like at this point, like I've learned a lot of stuff. And I think that maybe I'm at sort of like a saturation point. That's what I'm trying to say. Google Web App Framework built on TypeScript plus Node JS plus some other stuff. So React is more limited in scope than Angular, it sounds like, because it sounds like React is really just the front end and Angular is the full framework. So I bet JavaScript library. No, it's in the same list. But I got the impression that it's going to be a lot less fully featured. And if you just want to like build something top to bottom, cool. Not everything is in here. Cool. Features. Sorry, so what I was looking for was whether or not React was in here, because Angular is. No, I'm not just missing it. It's definitely not in here. In this like list of things. Browser support also not in here. Okay, so yeah, I do think React is like narrower in focus than Angular. Angular is like a whole framework. They're equivalent. Oh, interesting. Karen said that. Web application framework. Open source front-end JavaScript library. The web stack is very messy and confusing, Karen says. JavaScript itself varies from browser to browser. Cool. I do know that browser compatibility and like supporting a specific browser is a pretty major undertaking. Yeah, and I can see like given the amount of like framework specific stuff, I can see why if you were very invested in a particular framework, you would want it to succeed because you spent all this time learning about it. But I think for me, I don't really need all of this for my very dumb project. Because again, I'm not really a front-end person. I really just want to build a machine learning project. And it looks like a lot of the machine learning libraries are really focused on, you know, guess before stream. So this was just sort of what I was guessing it was going to look like. So a lot of the, nope, whatever I was going to say, it's completely gone now. I think a lot of the, nope, I remembered. I think a lot of the machine learning JavaScript frameworks are just pure JavaScript because they want to be super interoperable, which makes sense. So I think I'm just going to stick with pure JavaScript for now, and we will do what we can. So that's what we've done today. And let's real quick, please don't. And let's real quick give ourselves a little learning plan for tomorrow, which is going to be day 2. So it'll be at the same time. June 15th, one day after. And my learning plan is to, first I want to make a text input box and then print the same text back out, which I think in our list of like what we needed to do a little bit earlier on, we talked about. Yep, so this we have also done. We figured out how to get JavaScript running. It was already installed, turns out. So now we're on step 2, find a way to get the user to supply text. And then step 3 is going to be a very simple transformation on all that text to all lowercase. If time, make it all lowercase, and then look up things we run across. Because there's always going to be stuff, particularly at this stage where like I'm just learning about all these things and using them for the first time. There's going to be a lot of new stuff to learn. But thank you. It was really, really helpful to get your perspective on that, Karen. And yeah, I think I'm going to call it there for today. My light's off and I am ready for a snack. So thanks very much for joining today. We did, yeah, I do want to close those tabs, thanks. We did a lot. I definitely learned a lot. I feel like I have a better idea of sort of like some of the major stuff in the, also we did this. I think we have a good idea of some of the major stuff in our, it's not ours, in the ecosystem that exists. And also, there's a lot of stuff out there that I want to know about and want to know if it's useful to me, but probably will just end up looking into and be like, not today. Yeah, and we're ready for tomorrow. Yeah, thanks for joining. I hope this was helpful, interesting. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, which is 1 p.m. Pacific, whatever that is in your local time, and we will start getting user input. It's me. I'm going to be the user. I'm going to be inputting just like on my local system. All right. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Karen. See you later, Suki, and see you later, Afton. I'll talk to y'all later.